Hi, welcome. This is adescoy. Welcome again to my blog, Coaching for Purpose, where I'll be taking you through the various chapters of the book. So here we are with chapter 2, Misguided. Right, I'll be reading this out for you. Stay present. Blinding light. This came when I sat down across from the marketing consultant, and she said, "People have to like you." At that moment, I felt I was sitting strapped down in a chair in the darkened room across from an interrogator who was flashing a bright light into my vision. Blinding light. Here's the quote: "Build a better mousetrap and the world will beat a path to your door," by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I had previously set up as a project manager and waved my Microsoft badges about previously with a website that trumped up my expertise. Hey, I could write up outcomes, measure ROI, and deliver on KPI. Boy, I had to look for marketing support because there had only been a trickle of inquiries and no clients after 3 months of setting up shop. My mind snapped back to the consultant facing me patiently, watching the clock and assured of her payment. I grimaced at my predicament of hiring a consultant to use my watch and tell me the time. I explained in a condescending manner, "I have a product that will increase their efficiency, save them money, and treble and enable business growth. It's strictly business proposal. So why make it personal?" There and then, during the ensuing conversation, I had the flashback down the rabbit hole. That's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. We all know what happened to Alice. Well, yeah, read it up. So, down the rabbit hole, my path to self employment has been strewn with roadblocks. And since I graduated from university, I remember my shout of Eureka when I returned to Lagos with a golden fleece and a portable PC in 1986 and declined my IT gateway. Of course, parents and family scorned me, and I had to backtrack and enter the corporate world working with established multinational firms. After a decade of this, I once again jumped ship and set up a consulting firm in Lagos, which promptly failed within 2 years. Being the same arrogant, stubborn person, I promptly built ship again and took flight back to the United States with a diversion in the UK to retrain as a Microsoft engineer. My stint as a contractor in the USA was short-lived within a year because of the Twin Towers work were hit in September 2001, known in the US as 9/11. And then I rumbled back to the UK to start all over again. Obviously, while I was running on the treadmill of missed opportunities, time had not stopped. The span from 1985 to 2001 was a yawning crevice of failure. So I buckled up to face the new challenge of ageism in the IT sector, scrounging for a job in my 40s. However, this was to no avail. So I settled for an administrator role in the UK civil service, and this was where I became unstuck. "Time and tide wait for no man." That's a quote by Geoffrey Chaucer. The civil service. I settled down in 2002 to the civil service, not realizing this aspect in my life would herald the cataclysm. My first position was in the Operations Research Department, working in an administrative role to support a team of analysts who were highly qualified, most of them minimum qualification being a master's degree in a quantitative subject. This was my remit, since the field was close enough to my engineering background and I could upskill myself in the AD of the workflow. I was lucky to have a good line manager who shared my traits about goals and objectivity. But the warning signs, which I did not see, appeared when he gave me a downgrade from my previous 4 star through a 3 star on my second half year assessment. Since we had a good relationship, we built a rapport, I was able to query him, and his answer was that he would have given me a 4 star, but was advised to grade me 3 star by the division head due to my lack of soft skills. While this feedback bounced off my thick hide, and I simply went about working even harder trying to produce results. Hey, everyone will use a willing horse. So I was assigned more responsibilities. My line manager backed my grant to study at the Open University. I also passed the promotion board on the second attempt due to the great support and encouragement from him. Civil service. Ooh, reality. I was thrilled to be promoted, but the consequence was that I had to leave operations research and move into the business division as an executive officer, and there began my travails. Apparently, the backbone of the civil service is made up of those who enter with, say, GCSE, basic qualifications, and through the years, I'll say decades, work their way up the grades. This also alludes to the Peter Principle, which states that a person who is competent at their job will earn promotion to a more senior position which requires different skills. If the promoted person lacks the skills required for their new role, then they will be incompetent at their new level and so they will not be promoted again. So fast track. The dilemma was that I was too ambitious for my own good. I was soon plotted for another promotion to a higher executive officer and stepped up to HR to follow the procedures. My new line manager was a bulwark of establishment, having worked his way up grades and tenured after 30 years. Well, he quickly put obstacles in my way, and I soon found myself the lawn tennis ball where I was bounced between himself and the department's director. I got poor appraisals and had my promotion extended, and my protests to HR were squashed, although the divisional director actually had to step in at one stage. I belatedly found out that in my new promotion was unexpected by establishment standards, since many staff actually stayed put on the same administrator grade till they retired. Bullying. I was certainly glutted for punishment, and despite all of the bullying, took up arms by taking up a grievance. Ha! I was to find out that the departmental trade union chapter had been intimidated by the HR director, and cases were squashed at infancy. But I was made of stern stuff at that time, and full of righteous indignation, buoyed by the stiff-necked, my friends will say, rigid character I have. All right, so well, I burrowed my way through the staff handbook and then found I was actually fighting on two fronts, both the trade union and the HR director. It took over 3 years and a grind, but I escalated my grievance and the case eventually found its way, got into gear, after following procedure, single-handedly wrote up an email direct to the chief executive officer to cease and desist. Right. Well, it certainly helped. I had grown up reading the legal textbooks and manuals that my father had strewn in the library study. And so my ultimate was my disability issues. Here's a quote I used to strap myself down. I am sore wounded, but not slain. I will lay me down and bleed a while, and then I will rise and fight again. John Dryden. Yep, it's all I've been stubborn, buddy. Heart attack. Boom. Yes. After 3 years, the day came when I was slumped over at my desk with an arrhythmia heart condition. A staff member had to drive me home so I could make my way back to my doctor, that's the GP, and confront her with my condition. I had complained the past years of having dizzy spells and feeling exhausted, but she had simply taken my blood pressure and found it normal. Well, better late than never. I was referred to BATS NHS and specialists arranged for me to have surgery. I also had to go on medication and met up with my specialist when my condition after my surgery led to my having myofascial pain syndrome. It's kind of like a form of arthritis, pain nerves. Yeah, don't let's go there, buddy. Don't let's go there. But hey, gluten for punishment. Nevertheless, despite surgery and sickness, I still fought my case. And by this time, the chief executive and the HR director had acceded. So an external investigator was called in with the agreement of the trade union. I did my research and I found out I was stitched up again since the investigators were paid by the HR department and the previous cases showed that claimants like myself will be found guilty and disciplined after the findings. Yes, here's a quote. Truly, I was born to be an example of misfortune and a target at which the arrows of adversaries are aimed. Yes, as a quote from Don Quixote, the Knight of La Mancha. If you like literature, check that out. So, court case. Faced with an investigation that was one-sided, I fell back on my quasi-legal background. Since back in Nigeria, I had actually shared office space with an Oxford University Don, trained lawyer. He had a PhD, and yeah, jolly good fellow. So I ditched the staff handbook and dug deep into understanding employment tribunal procedure rules. I found out that I could file the case myself as a layman. So I hop- honed my research and then prepared and filed my case. The status quo at the time was that I was in employment, and the usual way litigation worked was that the claimant would leave the employment on the claim of harassment and then file the case. But hey, I was made of turned stuff at that time, and looking the gun in the barrel, actually filed my case while still in employment at my office desk. Just about this time, the external investigation was being wound up, and the findings made me culpable, guilty. Ha! Hence, it was one brief spell of euphoria when my tribunal claim was received in HR division. I felt the later aftershocks because even the trade union staff who had derided my case came scurrying around me and swooning about my office desk. Ha! But I knew this was now a fight to the finish, and the establishment will be all out for blood. So, here's a quote. Whom the gods will destroy, the first make mad. A quote from Euripides. It's a Greek tragedy. Yes, showdown. A few weeks later, while recovering from the non invasive heart surgery, my case was called at the tribunal. Following procedures, I actually applied for 2 days leave from the office to go and testify against my employers. I simply love the English legal system. At this time, I had actually appealed against my trade union office, and they had sent my case to Trade Union National, who stated my case did not deserve a lawyer, but that they would send a T representative. On appearance, the civil service was represented by a train of four, and even the judge took askance at the demonstration of the Iron Fist. The four being a barrister, a QC, then a barrister from a legal 500 firm, then the departmental lawyer, and then also an HR advisor. Yeah, yeah. Suffice to say that the legal wrangle will fit another chapter. But alack, I had to withdraw after the first hearing. I had to withdraw my case by the second hearing after receiving legal considerations from the National Trade Union Office that, my case did not really have any merit and they will not be supporting me. But hey, I was still employed, though sick, and though feeling the effects of my arthritis and my pain syndromes. I crawled back to my old office desk and changed to part-time employment pattern, riding the tiger. I had now been thrust in this downward spiral of fighting the establishment over 4 years. And with the court case settled, I was stuck at a corner desk and used as a trophy to show the futile result of fighting bullies. The department followed procedure and I was kept under strict watch. Also, reasonable adjustments were carried out due to my disability. However, the psychological damage was really tough because by this time I was also attending counseling and close to crackdown. And then it happened. The cause effect in my personal life led to a meltdown, and I knew I had to get out of the civil service and employment. A quote, actually Chinese this time, riding a tiger and not being able to get off. So the myth goes is you riding the tiger, how do you get off the tiger without the tiger eating you? Uh-huh. Tough one. So, however, to resign without benefits after the long, arduous battle would have been a Pyrrhic victory. So I summoned my last efforts and played war games and chess with the establishment. Being more diplomatic this time and using an ally, I played a scenario to get out of establishing that I could actually start another frivolous court case, this time claiming harassment on racial grounds. By this time, the CEO and HR director had enough. Terms were agreed, and my solicitor drew up a settlement agreement, and I was paid off. The amount was basically equal to like 1 year's salary and a bit more, but I was relieved to be off the back of the tiger. Yup. So, guys, this brings the end of chapter 2, and I'm going to sign off here. And so, if you'd like to learn more of what happened or just follow the story, check out chapter 3 forthcoming video. Thanks. Bye now. Adi.